the Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock. This is Capitol View with your host, Jesse Tenor.
Good Sunday morning to you and welcome into Capitol View. I'm Jesse Tenor. We're following new developments in the push to regulate smoking and vaping. We'll look at how that may play into the next fight over tax cuts. Plus, Arkansas prepares for a potential ticking time bomb as a federal judge considers whether the state's Medicaid work requirements can stand. But we begin with the latest tax plan. Joining me in studio are Republican State Representative Mary Bentley and Democratic State Representative Tippy McCullough. Good morning and welcome back to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having us this morning.
So yeah, I figured we have to start with this. It is a bipartisan bill headed by Senate President Jim Hendren, and it does what Democrats have definitely wanted for some time, an earned income tax credit, and then it also fulfills one of Hendren's promises since what it sounds like the beginning of the session, maybe even further back, which would take on big tobacco. I know the governor has said that he still wants to study the bill before coming out for or against it, but Representative McCullough, I wanted to start with you just because you're one of the many co-sponsors on the bill. So yeah, what are your thoughts moving forward?
Yeah, we were really happy and encouraged to hear about this bill and to jump on board with it. Early in the session, Democrats, I was able to run a EITC bill myself in rev and tax. So this is something that we have all, not just Democrats, but Republicans also. I know Chair Joe Jett has had his own at one time. So I know a lot of people are interested in doing this. And we were just happy to give some of the poorest and some of the people that need it in the middle also, just our middle Arkansans, something this session besides just taxes. Yeah.
And then Representative Bentley, just because your name isn't on a bill doesn't mean you wouldn't support it. What are your thoughts moving forward on it?
I'm going to say that I'm going to study it like the governor. I haven't really looked at the details. We've got 3 bills out there right now looking at raising money for NCI and also some tax breaks. So let's look at it and study it. You know, we did, this is my 3rd session, so the first session I was here, we did a big tax break for middle income Arkansans, and last session we did a big break for those in the lower income Arkansans. So I'm comfortable with what we've done so far, giving some great tax breaks. I'm more than happy to look at it. I just really haven't had a chance to study it all completely, but I'm very much in favor of doing some things to combat the vaping and what we've got going on in our schools. I'm very concerned about that. I heard a lot of my superintendents and school nurses there what's going on with our kids. So what we can do to increase the tax on vaping and maybe cut it down. And I'm definitely in favor of T21. I think I'm really concerned what's going on with our kids. So if those are in there, definitely take a chance and look at it and study it some more and see what we can do.
Okay. And we'll get into some more of the details later on in the show. But I wanted to move on to break down some other of kind of the big talkers this week. So I know legislation to exempt certain employees and businesses from the minimum wage law brought a lot of different people from around the state to the Capitol to either mostly to fight against it since there was a rally and everything. But voters did pass it by nearly 70% in November. And then Representative Bentley, you were a yes vote for the 2 bills that ran in committee earlier this week. And there has since been a lot of criticism from citizens for the way that that vote was handled. And then there's since been criticism for the bills in general from the governor in both Democratic and Republican parties. So what's your response to all of that?
Well, first, the criticism on how it was ran, I think you have to be in session and understand how tired we are, how late it is in the day, and some things that we, if we have a colleague that we support and respect and would like to have some discussion on the bill that's not, I don't think there should be any criticism of that. There's nothing hidden in the agenda.
So you don't think it was snuck in or
There's
anything?
Nothing, no. Absolutely no plan to sneak anything. We are very getting to the end of the session. All of us are trying to get our bills running because if we don't, well, there's no way anything's going to get passed on both ends. So sometimes it's good to get things out, let them get out there and get discussed. There's never any agenda to try and rush things through. It's totally false. So I can say there was now. I know that I've heard from our Boys and Girls Clubs and lots of folks that are very concerned about the bill, and so that's why I want us to bring it out and discuss it. I don't want us to shut down our Boys and Girls Clubs because of what we passed. And some things I know I've heard from our schools and how it's going to hurt our schools. I don't think people understand the unintended consequences sometimes, and I know we'll probably have to pass millage increases later on to help our schools down the road. So I think those are things that we want to discuss. I know as a teenager, my first job was at McDonald's, and so I don't want to cut out our kids from being able to get a job and be able to get some training early on. Minimum wage was never meant to be a living wage. Minimum wage was a starting salary for you to get some experience and get some expertise and move up on the ladder. No one was trying to go back to $7.25. It was always to stay at $9.25. I think that was another mistake. Yeah, always to stay at $9.25. None of us had any intention of going back there.
And then Representative McCullough, you don't serve on the committee, but just one of your fellow Democrats, Deborah Ferguson, she's the vice chair of that committee, and she made it a point to ask Representative Lundstrom, this does, you know, both of these bills would need a 2/3 vote, 66 members for it to pass. Just in talking with people, how successful do you see that being?
Yeah, I think it's a really high bar. For the main reason is that overwhelmingly, you know, was voted in by the people of Arkansas. Was very popular. I think there was plenty of time to talk about it, to vet it, to do all these things before the vote happened. And I know some of those things probably did come out in the arguments and everything. But even though minimum wage might not have been intended to be a living wage, I know one of the things my mom said a few years ago to me that really made an impression on me. She said, "I feel sorry for kids today." And I said, "Well, why?" And she said, "Well, in the 40s and 50s, you could get out of high school, you could get a minimum wage job, and you could raise a family on that, and you could make a living. And even though we may not intend minimum wage to be a way that somebody makes their living for the rest of their life, sadly and unfortunately, the facts are that a lot of Arkansans are working minimum wage jobs, and that's how they're probably going to stay in those minimum wage jobs due to many circumstances. Money not to go to college, already having a family to take care of. There's many societal factors, I think, that play into that. So I just think that the reality is that many people do need those wages because they're just one flat tire, they're just one transmission going wrong, they're just one little disaster from a health thing coming up. They're just one disaster away from having traumatic decisions they have to make with their families.
I wanted to move on to some other legislation that you're specifically sponsoring. So, Representative McCullough, you're working on a bill that would require state agencies to pay equal wages to women and men and encourage all employers to eliminate wage differentials. I also heard a former lawmaker we talked about a lot on this show last year worked on it with you, Clark Tucker.
That's right, Clark Tucker. This is one of his ideas that he's been working on for quite some time, and we got together and we've talked about it and worked on it some, tinkered with it a lot through BLR. Still going through the process of talking to the Department of Labor and different folks that will be that will have something to do with this, and working through some of the processes. One of the things I'm most excited about is just the education component of it for state agencies and for people in Arkansas. There's an award that would be associated with it that we could give to somebody who's really working to get rid of that gap between men and women. But the thing that I like the most about it is there's a component to educate young girls and also women how better to negotiate their wages in the workplace.
What are your initial thoughts, Representative Bentley, on the bill?
I hate to say I just heard about it this morning because it's so deep in some other committees, but I'm all about helping young girls. That's one I really try to focus on my entire time I've been in office, really mentoring young girls and help them empower them to do great things. So definitely we'll take some time to study it this weekend. That's what we spend our weekends.
Right, lots of reading.
No doubt. So,
Representative Bentley, you've revived a proposal that couldn't pass during the last session. It's a bill aimed at stopping the use of SNAP benefits for unhealthy purchases, and then you also have another one that would expand the pool of people who could lose benefits from the food stamp program for not participating in employment programs. So just in having different discussions with people, how successful do you think these will be this time around?
I think they're great. I really have heard so many of my constituents and taxpayers 100% behind this. We want people to eat healthy. I mean, all I'm doing is looking at food that has absolutely no nutritional value. Our tax dollars, to me, when we get tax dollars from folks, I mean, we're not printing any money over there. We're not printing food stamps over there in the Capitol. It's hard-earned Arkansas taxpayer money. It should go to provide nutritious food, and that's what we want, things that have nutritional value. And so we have a huge problem with obesity in our state, and the governor brought out his Healthy Active Arkansas. It really helps with two of the planks of the governor's Healthy Active Arkansas plan, which I 100% support. I've done things with breastfeeding and all that. I love Healthy Active Arkansas. I want Arkansas healthy. We're 47th in the nation, where it's costing so much. It really decreases people's quality of life when they're unhealthy and when they have to spend so much money on medications, all those things that come with obesity leads to heart attack, to strokes, to diabetes, so many things that really decreases their quality of life. So I want people to be healthy. It's just a way for us to encourage that. And also the biggest thing is I want to increase the supply of healthy foods across the whole state, because 1 out of 5 Arkansans in rural Arkansas is on food stamps. So if we can increase healthy food for those folks, we can increase it for everybody. And that's really increase the supply of healthy foods. It's all about getting folks healthy, and that's what I'm about, increasing their quality of life.
What is your initial response to that?
I mean, I think Representative Bentley, I think her intentions are all great, and I think she really wants to improve all of these benefits. The only thing that concerns me a lot, I say the only thing, there's several things, and I'd love to talk to you about this, but I think that this is big government. I think it's telling people, you can have these things to eat or you can't have these things to eat. One of the things that worries me are the food deserts that we have out there all over the state. In every county there are food deserts, and we can't necessarily tell retailers how to stock their stores. Some people don't have access to fresh vegetables and fresh fruit and all of the things that we would like to see everyone eating. I think that Arkansans across the board, including myself, I think we have over-sugared ourselves. I think we have I don't think that we eat well. I don't always buy the best foods. I think that's everybody. And I think that this targets a certain population, and I'm not sure that that's the right thing to do, is to tell them how they feed their family, especially when there are problems with getting those types of food. I also hope that we continue to concentrate on education, especially across the board, but especially in those types of places, so that we can teach people, whether it's about healthy breakfast at schools or lunches or after schools, just continue to educate everybody and not roll back programs that are about healthy, nutritious foods.
Representative Bentley, Representative McCullough, thank you so much for joining me back on the show.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, yes, we're all Irish.
All right, thanks.
And stay with us. Coming up after a quick break, we'll take a deeper dive into the newest tax cut proposal and how it could affect smoking and tobacco use here in Arkansas. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
The delicious fish sandwich from Sonic. It's 100% Alaska pollock smothered with tartar sauce and pickles on a brioche bun. Have we reeled you in yet? Did you catch that? The fish sandwich only at Sonic. Are you hooked?
The game of football is about pain. 7 years old until I stopped playing at 31. I thought that foot pain was going to be with me for the rest of my life. I'm so glad I met Good Feet. I'm so glad that those arch supports are in my shoes. If I had known about the Good Feet arch support earlier, I would have more than one championship. I would have 2 championship rings.
Try them for yourself with a free arch support fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Do you want another truck, or a truck like no other? One that makes people say, they put what in that truck? One that has capabilities you can't find in other trucks and ushers in a whole new age. The all-new Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2019 Truck of the Year. For deals like no other, come in now during Ram Truck Month.
Or get an average of $15,700 in total values on select 2019 Ram 1500 Classic models in dealer stock.
Sold it, sold it, sold it. Absolute Real Estate and Personal Property Auction. 8500 Edgemont Road in Greers Ferry, Arkansas. Tract 1 is 4.5 acres with over 300 feet of highway frontage. A 20,000 square foot commercial boat dealership in excellent condition. Tract 2 is 6.5 acres with a fenced and gated 92-unit boat storage facility. Offered separately, pontoon boats, ski boats, fishing boats, Ford and Chevrolet trucks, Mahindra tractor, Mossberg, Browning, Remington, and Beretta guns. Everything is sold regardless of price on auction day. Go to wilsonauctioneers.com.
Sold it, sold it, sold it. Sonic's Double Stuffed Oreo Waffle Cone, made from Oreo wafers, layered with sweet Oreo cream, real ice cream, and Oreo cookie pieces. Talk about Oreo overload. Try one before they're gone. And try order ahead to get happy hour anytime.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. We have been following a series of developments in the push to regulate smoking and tobacco use in Arkansas. Joining me to discuss the latest bills and how they might affect public health is Dr. Joe Thompson, former State Surgeon General and CEO of Arkansas Center for Health Improvement. Welcome back to the show.
Glad to be with you.
So I wanted to bring you back on since you were standing alongside Senator Hendren and other lawmakers as they announced that bipartisan bill on Thursday. He referenced ACI's Medicaid and tobacco numbers as one of the main reasons really behind these new taxes for tobacco and vaping products. So I wanted you to just catch viewers up on what these numbers show.
So what we looked at our center was the all-payer claims database, and we looked at tobacco-related costs, diseases caused by tobacco, that our Medicaid program is paying for. And statewide, for individuals over age 30, the Medicaid program is paying about $795 million a year. And if you look at all the taxes collected on cigarettes, it's only about $230 million a year. So those Arkansans that are paying taxes that do not smoke are cross-subsidizing the medical care for those that do.
And so as far as these numbers go, break that down a little bit. Who is this, you know, covering technically?
So these are older adults, those with disabilities who smoke, those that are now in the Arkansas Works program who smoke. We have about 1 in 4 Arkansans that continue to smoke cigarettes, that are addicted to the nicotine in cigarettes. The numbers do not include smoking-related problems associated with pregnancy, preterm deliveries, or asthma hospitalizations and care in children. That we know secondhand tobacco smoke is a #1 cause for many of those conditions.
So there's some different components to this new bill. Can you break down some of it for us?
So yet several bills moving in the tobacco front. Senator Hendren's bill in particular really is a tax and revenue bill in that he proposes to increase the cigarette tax and to initiate for the first time a tax on e-cigarettes, and in exchange use those funds to lower the income taxes for lower income Arkansans, and to put in place for an enhancement of the earned income tax credit. It's a federal program that helps lower income Arkansans be able to pay as they go, as opposed to pay taxes in and then get them back in the following year.
Now, how does this affect people who do use tobacco and vaping products? It's about like 80 cents, I think, for tobacco products. Is it the same for vaping, since we've never done that before? Or?
Sure. Senator Hendren's proposal was a 20% ad valorem tax on cigarettes and 80% for the first time to get the vape cost up to that of a cigarette pack. One Juul pack in a Juul e-cigarette equals one pack of cigarettes in terms of the amount of nicotine, and so I think that's where he's trying to go, to have some equity between cigarettes and vaping products.
Okay. And then how do you expect this debate to kind of play out? I feel like there's some political maneuvering happening to where supporters of the bill could say, well, a vote against it is a vote against low-income Arkansans.
Sure. Well, I think, he had broad bipartisan support when he rolled the bill out, and he has those as co-sponsors on his bill. It is relatively late in the session to start a major new effort, and tobacco is always controversial for the interest of the industry and the health protections of individuals. I think this is a pretty clean bill with respect to what it does, so it's not like some of the other bills that we've seen that have had some hidden traps inside of them. So I think this will be the Pro Tem's goal and objective to get through the Senate and then on to the House for discussions there.
What about the governor? I know he had 4 T's as his, priorities. This would be a 5th one. Any ideas what he'll do? He said that he still has to study it.
Well, when asked yesterday, Senator Hendren said that he felt the governor would not oppose this bill. Again, I think the work is on the legislators to get this through into the governor's desk for signature.
Okay. And then you did mention some other pushes that have been happening. Of course, one of the biggest things was a bill to just say, hey, we're going to fund a National Cancer Institute designation for UAMS. Now they have to figure out how to come up with that $10 to $20 million a year. So I know that bill, sponsored by, I think, Andy Davis, has changed a little bit. So catch us up on where that is, too.
So we had 2 bills. The first, Senator Ervin's enabling legislation that set the fund up so that UAMS, as everyone wants to have a National Cancer Institute to have treatments available, would be there. Then the revenue bill, Representative Davis's bill, raises cigarette paper taxes. It adds some exemption, or eliminates exemptions of border towns that had some safeguards. It raises some revenue for the National Cancer Institute. Unfortunately, it also has some tobacco industry goals and objectives. It prohibits local communities from doing any regulation of the sale of tobacco. So that preemption of local autonomy is a concern. And something that was removed this week, which really is, I think, the future playbook of the tobacco industry, is what's called a modified risk product. They have products under the Food and Drug Administration's application to be able to sell as a product that's less harmful than cigarettes. And in this bill was a 50% tax reduction once those components got approved. So that now is out of the bill. So the Cancer Institute bill, with the exception of preemption, I think is a strong bill and will support the designated National Cancer Institute goal that UAMS and others have been behind.
And that is the one that has the T21, right?
That also has restrictions on individuals under age 21 from being able to buy cigarettes or vaping products. Now, for those of you who have kids in high school or have talked to teachers, the Juul e-cigarette and the vaping efforts have really invaded our schools, even down to the 6th and 7th grade in some school districts. And the superintendents are really up in arms on trying to figure out how to get this out of their school systems, and the T21 to make it where individuals less than 21 years of age can't purchase that is probably the #1 goal objective for improving the health of our students and young individuals.
And I've asked this before on the show, but I haven't asked you, so I think it bears repeating. But just why is this the year? Why is this the session to pass tobacco legislation when there's been efforts in the past and they haven't gone anywhere?
I think you have a constellation of really 3 things. One is the work that we did to show what the state was spending on tobacco and the financial cost that tobacco was causing the Medicaid program. It's also costing the commercial sector businesses about $500 million in insurance costs related to tobacco diseases. I think that's one. I think the other is the goals of having a National Cancer Institute designated at UAMS. And then I think the third really is the rapid penetration of our youth of using e-cigarettes, and basically the industry's targeted effort to have the next generation become nicotine addicted and future tobacco or vape product users.
Well, Dr. Thompson, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Glad to be with you. Thank you.
And stay with us. When we come back, the latest on the heated battle over stand your ground legislation. Plus, reaction from Washington as Arkansas's Medicaid work requirements come under scrutiny in federal court. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
When you need new floors and the best deal in the state, there's only one place. Georgia Carpet Mills, home of the waterproof, kid-proof, pet-proof Core-Tec floors from U.S. Floors. Don't forget to ask about our 0% financing. Georgia Carpet Mills, the best-kept secret in flooring.
A lot of car companies are making SUVs, but only one makes the most awarded, the best-selling, and the icon, Motor Trend's 2019 SUV of the Year. Celebrate Jeep Freedom Days with no payments for 90 days and $500 additional bonus cash on our best-selling legendary Jeep SUVs.
Now finance and get $4,500 total cash allowance on the 2019 Jeep Cherokee.
Sold it, sold it, sold it. Greers Ferry Lake Home and Personal Property Auction, Thursday, March 28th at 11 a.m. at 269 Lakeview Road in Edgemont, Arkansas. Offering a beautiful 4,000 square foot, 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom home on Greers Ferry Lake in Thunder Bay subdivision with a 3-car garage, 2 large back decks, gazebo with built-in hot tub and fireplace. Also selling a 2013 Cobalt 242 ski boat, Tahoe ski boat, 2 fifth-wheel campers, Mercedes convertible, tools, furniture, and much more. Everything is seller regardless of price. Go to WilsonAuctioneers.com. Sold it, sold it, sold it.
This is not one of those amateur SUVs. This is the SUV that defined sport utility. This is the most luxurious SUV in its class and the most awarded ever. This is the legendary Jeep Grand Cherokee. Celebrate Jeep Freedom Days with no payments for 90 days and $500 additional bonus cash on our best-selling vehicles.
Right now, get $3,750 total cash allowance on the 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
This time of year, your heater is probably working hard, but is it as warm in your house as it should be? Is your bill too high because of it? You should call Herbert Heating and Air. For 25 years, Herbert Heating and Air has provided excellent service at an affordable price. Whether you need a new unit, a repair to your existing system, a routine service, or even a second opinion, call Herbert Heating and Air for a free estimate. 501-888-2773. Let our family help your family. Herbert Heating and Air.
Dialing for dollars on KARK4 News at noon has been updated, and it's time for you to do the same. Go to KARK.com to register. Dialing for dollars, only on KARK4. Sponsored by DDS Dentures and Implant Solutions. You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Senator, you need to stop.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. What the hell are you gonna do? Shoot me?
Senator.
Senators.
Welcome back to Capitol View. It has now been a week and a half since State Senator Stephanie Flowers drew national attention for those remarks in a hearing over a controversial self-defense bill. She told her colleagues that this so-called stand your ground proposal makes her fear for the life of her son and other young black people. Millions of people worldwide viewed the video of Senator Flowers' remarks, and at least 2 Democratic presidential candidates mentioned them on social media. Flowers addressed the remarks before her colleagues last Monday, but did not apologize, saying only God would judge her, and that she's received encouragement from across the country.
And they were glad to have and see somebody to speak what they could not speak and to express it the way they could not express it. So I don't apologize for my expression and my passion and my emotion.
Senate President Pro Tem Jim Hendren says he wouldn't support any censure or punishment for Flowers, but adds that lawmakers should handle controversial issues like this in a respectful manner. And the man sitting next to her in that video is Senator Alan Clark, chair of the Judiciary Committee. He noted last Monday that he and Senator Flowers are close friends, and then since the video went viral, he's been called racist and misogynistic, something he says is unfair. And I will say that after the two made those comments on the Senate floor, that they hugged it out after.
She asked me earlier when we first got here if I was mad at her. She didn't use quite those words, and I said, no, I'm not mad at you, but I am mad. Here's the Washington Post. GOP lawmaker tried to silence a black senator in a gun law debate. She stood her ground and won.
Clark made it clear he did not tell Senator Flowers to stop talking during that committee hearing, only to stop using profanity. The Stand Your Ground bill has not come up for another vote. It's unclear if that'll happen this week. Governor Hutchinson has signed into law new restrictions on abortion. If it survives a legal challenge, the ban on terminating a pregnancy after 18 weeks will become most strict in the nation, at least for now. It's the latest in a series of anti-abortion bills to pass in 2019. Also this week, the legislature cleared a bill to require more credentials of doctors who perform abortions. And Arkansas now has a trigger law that would outlaw all abortions if the Supreme Court strikes down Roe versus Wade. Lawmakers haven't had to worry about Medicaid appropriation in 2019, but a potential snag could be lurking. On Thursday, a federal judge in Washington, D.C. heard arguments in a case involving the state's work requirement for certain Medicaid beneficiaries. The Trump administration signed off on the work requirements early last year for many people who got their coverage through Arkansas Works. Since then, several thousand people have been kicked off their health coverage for not complying. Supporters say it's helping people get necessary job skills. Opponents have said this law doesn't allow this policy and that it's doing more harm than good.
There's no provision in the Medicaid Act anywhere for there to be something like work requirements. They're trying to radically transform Medicaid without having any authority to do it and without having congressional approval to do so.
Governor Hutchinson says he was pleased by the arguments made in court in favor of the work requirements, saying it was a strong presentation in front of the judge on how the law supports the work requirement in Arkansas and how there was simple authority to issue this waiver. We are hopeful, based upon that presentation, that the judge will rule favorably and make a decision to support the work requirement. The judge in this case says he hopes to rule by the end of the month, so stay tuned there. We will keep you updated. And we're back to wrap it all up after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Sold it. Absolute Real Estate Car and Gun Auction, Thursday, April 4th at 10 a.m. 2414 Diamond Bluff Road, Equipment, Arkansas. With a breathtaking 3,700 square foot home overlooking Greers Ferry Lake on 4 acres with 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Also selling a newly built 32 Ford Coupe in mint condition, 34 antique rare and collectible guns, including a museum quality 1866 signed Winchester. This incredible estate will be sold to the highest bidders live and online at wilsonauctioneers.com.
Sold it.
Ever since I was 5 years old, it's been all about football. It's been about running, jumping, blocking, tackling. I have terrible foot issues that prevented me from really having a normal life with my kids. With the Good Feet Arch Supports, man, I'm always ready. My kids actually got to enjoy me in the yard more, racing each other, backpedaling, teaching them some things, being a dad.
Try them for yourself with a free arch support fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Anchors Away. It's a great opportunity for some of the anchors here at KARK to get away from our normal setting. We're going to talk about the Little Rock mayoral race. Kids, be careful because whatever you put on the internet is going to be there forever.
Join the conversation on our weekly web show, only on KARK.com.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And that does it for today's show. Don't forget, you can now take Capitol View on the go. Download the Capitol View podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And we're back with an all-new Capitol View next week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.